Hi, I'm Ije and this is Ross and Victoria, and we're music tutors for Hertfordshire Music Service. This video is about reflective practice, what it is, why it's important for young people, music tutors and organisations, and how it works. Reflective practice at its most basic level is do, review and improve, and it allows us as music tutors to discuss issues that come up in our lessons or things that we are struggling with or challenges that we want to overcome, so that we can talk and give advice to each other, work as a group so that we can go in feeling more prepared and also have that support network. What do you think that is?
So for me, like, my reflective practice has always been kind of at the base of everything that I've done with music, I guess, especially when learning an instrument, because it's playing something and kind of like assessing how well you play something, and normally you have something like a track to play against. So with that you've got a basis of, okay, well I played it like this, do I kind of improve with that? So it's a very kind of self thing for me, I guess. It's an easy way to track progress, especially when you're looking at ways that you play something and the way that some things kind of sound, and helps you lay out ideas to just kind of improve with what you want to improve with, and it gives you a kind of nice linear kind of timeline with it. But I guess within the terms of a music service, it's with any teacher who wants to improve their students' learning as well. Like, working a lot with SEND, you find that some people will learn a certain way, some people will learn another way, and it helps you build up all of these ideas which may have helped other people, and targeting and pinpointing different bits for each student that might work for them. So I think that for me, the kind of idea of the reflective practice, it's really, really good to work with yourself, but then when we work with it all together, it also helps iron out other ideas too.
Cool. Yeah, great. And Victoria?
For me, reflective practice is a really effective tool, encourages continuous learning and development. So for me, it's that kind of constant self-review that then in turn kind of helps me have a more student-focused approach to my teaching. So that for me is the kind of key thing about reflective practice, is just the kind of learning and the continuous learning. Sometimes we don't always focus on when we've been teaching for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I guess we all reflect anyway, most of us do in our daily lives or with different parts of our work or just our hobbies. So I guess it's having that like structure and that formal structure that is there, and you know it's coming, so that if you have a problem that comes up, you know that you've got that time to discuss it with people who kind of understand or have had similar experiences.
Yeah, they're all in the same kind of boat with it, definitely. Yeah. I think like the thing is as well, like if you don't have that idea in your life where you're always trying to be that better person, then critical reflection and stuff can kind of be left to the side a little bit. But when you're constantly teaching different ways and different generations are coming up that learn in different ways, I think it's really important to kind of look at the stuff that you do and to try and improve it to make the best out of what you've got, for sure.
Absolutely, and I think it really challenges like traditional teaching theories. So I think especially when I was learning instruments, there was kind of one way that you learn, and that was kind of it, and there was
it's like a linear kind of thing,
like a set of books that you would always use. I think what's really nice now is that we kind of are really looking, like I said, that student focused or student centered approach of teaching, and I think that's really positive. So at Hertfordshire Music Service, obviously we're all inclusion tutors, and we meet once every half term to complete critical reflection as a group. And the way those sessions kind of run is that obviously we come together, we share best practice, we talk about things that have gone really well and then things that maybe haven't gone quite so well. And it's really good for us to celebrate all of the good things that we've done and share those successes, but then we also focus on the why, so why those things worked really well, what we did, and how we can then continue to use those things, as we continue and as we deliver more sessions. It's also really useful to have that constructive critique from our peers. So having a group of people that you really get on with and that you trust and that you feel are also interested in their own development and your development. So it's that moving together, moving forwards together, which I think is really nice about critical reflection meetings. What do you guys think that we kind of do?
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. It really helps us kind of overcome some of the problems that we may be building up in our minds, and I think that's really, really good with working in a very tight kind of one-to-one basis normally, or working one with a group. I think it's really nice to be able to come together with like-minded people who all obviously have a passion with musical education, and I think that's probably the best part of starting it. But then we're all, like with our nurture groups and with our inclusion groups, we're all very much in the same boat. So we all understand that we're all going to have these difficulties, we're all going to have these similar kinds of problems, and it's really nice to be able to just come together and to be able to talk, because there's been times where in my mind I've been building it up like, oh my god, you're a terrible teacher, like this didn't go correctly today, that's really bad. But then when you come and you realise that other people are in the same boat, and it's finding what other things have worked for other people, but then also figuring out that other people are in the same boat, and it's not to feel that it's anything on you, it's something that we can overcome together, and we can look at loads of different problems.
Absolutely.
And go from there, I guess. How about yourself?
Yeah. So usually there's about 6 to 8 of us, and we kind of go around the table, and we'll all have like 5-10 minutes to share what's been on our minds or what we want to bring to the session. And then so you know that you're going to have that time that's like there's no pressure, there's no judgment there, and you get to express what you feel, any problems that have come up, and then people kind of can ask you questions. Like we've done active listening before, where you don't give the answers to the tutor, but you ask them questions to kind of get to a solution that they come up with, or that you come up with as a group. And I think that's really nice about it, because then you feel like you're making some progress with yourself as well. It's not just like you're being given the answer and then you leave.
And I think working with the same group of people is really important, because some of these issues aren't going to be solved in one session. So it's nice for us to be able to come back and kind of reflect on how things have been progressing, and if they've got better, if they've got worse, and then maybe trying different approaches and different ways of handling the situation. So I think it's nice that that we have that same kind of group.
Yeah, exactly, especially if you're going around lots of different schools or music centres teaching, but then you're not actually coming into much contact with music tutors, and people are always passing each other by. So it's really nice to have that group, because like if you're in an office you would have that every day, whereas we don't really have that. So,
exactly that, definitely.
So what are the benefits of reflective practice for music tutors, do you think?
So kind of like what we've said, I think regardless of your teaching life, you can be thinking one thing and there could be another person on the other side that has exactly the same problem, but you'd never know until those two ships pass each other of what actually you're kind of both feeling. And I think that's really, really important. And
even having like your manager there or anything, you still want to create that kind of equal environment so that you can feel like you can share, because maybe if you're not used to like having those kind of discussions with certain people in your organisation, you might feel more nervous or more hesitant about saying
more kind of
certain
standoff,
things.
because you're like, oh, this person's way higher up than me, and it's like, oh god, I don't want to say anything that might make me look terrible.
So
definitely.
I think it's really important to make that clear from the very beginning that it is that space to do that.
Yeah, completely.
I think having that diverse range of tutors as well. So I think especially in our group, what's really lovely is we've got people who've been teaching for like 20 years and have all that experience, and then you've got lots of new people that are just coming up from lots of these different types of degrees with where the teaching practice and theory has completely changed, and also just different disciplines. There's voice teachers, guitarists, like cellists, people from more classical backgrounds, more contemporary music. I think just having that that's really positive for our continued learning, because it's just you're meeting with different people and it's just lots of different viewpoints and different approaches. And I think that's what I really feel is a big benefit for me, is I'm really learning about different aspects of the music service, as well as being able to kind of critically reflect on my own kind of teaching.
So I guess for young people, some of the benefits of reflective practice is that we're putting youth voice at the centre of what we're doing, and it's like child-led, and we can discuss that as tutors, so that it feels like as a collective we're all on the same page, and we all know that that's kind of our goal and that's our aim for the sessions that we run. And then obviously that benefits the young people, because they feel like they have autonomy over their lessons, and it's been proven that will make them engage more, and they'll be happier to be there because they feel like it's their lesson, not just a lesson that they're going to that has nothing to do with them. And even with if you're a peripatetic teacher and someone's doing grades, that's still, the reflective process is still going to be really beneficial for them and you as a tutor. And I'm sure even more so if you're kind of in the same school all day, every day, and you're not meeting many tutors, that would be really beneficial for them too.
Definitely. I think especially with the whole idea of, like you were saying about peripatetic teachers doing grades and that, for example, even though you've got that kind of outlined linear thing that you need to do this and that, it's still good to be able to reflect on it, because when you get to some points where it gets a bit more creative with improvisation and stuff, I always try to ask the student what they like the sound of and what they enjoy the sound of, rather, and make it centred around them, because I can teach them whatever that I know how to do, but it's not personal to them. And I think that that's the point where everyone improves with their music, is when they find the things that they like and they make that noise come out somehow. Definitely.
So for the organisation benefits, I guess we've touched on that. It creates that tutor support network, and it's an inexpensive way of training and supporting your tutors in your organisation.
I think it helps with staff morale as well. I think sometimes, you know, like as cheesy as it sounds, but like a problem shared is a problem halved, and I definitely feel like that sometimes when we come into the sessions. If I've had a really tough kind of week or couple of weeks, and then you talk everything through, and I think it's, as I said, it's just it really does help with it. We are lone workers quite a lot of the time, really, so it's just great to have that support network. So that's great for the organisation, because long term that means, like, you know, less time off sick for people, like all of that kind of stuff, which is really positive. And it's just, I think that's really important for staff retention as well, for keeping people in an organisation, is that kind of feeling like you are a part of something.
It's like one unit, which I definitely feel like we have for our sessions, definitely, and it feels like quite proud to be part of that organisation when you have other great people that you work with. I definitely think so. So one of the ways that's really helped me with coming into the sessions was working with how some students that I would find quite rude or challenging during class, to be able to explore that idea and to be able to gain other ideas from other people. And through this I managed to get I think it was either from you guys or someone else that we work with, that drawing up a list of kind of expectations that are to be held within the class, like a list of rules. And it wasn't me being like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. It was more me asking them of what they found that would be acceptable to happen in a classroom environment, because again it's that whole and it's asking them to take ownership of what they believe that the rules in this should be, and not trying to be overbearing, like no one can talk when this is happening, no one can talk, like just the nice, kind, polite things of like when someone is talking, they don't talk and they come up with the answer. But again, when it comes into that kind of thing, and we have this list of rules, I wasn't necessarily always the one kind of bringing these rules out. It was some of the other students in the class that were bringing them out, because they knew that they had written these out and they knew what the expectations of themselves were, because they wrote it. So it's really important, because they're taking the personal ownership of that, and then they're starting to kind of almost enforce these rules by just being this rapport as a group, which is fantastic, because it makes me feel like I'm not the one that's being really the authoritative figure. They're the ones taking it into their own hands, which has really helped out, and it helped with a lot of the disruption during the classrooms, which I thought was fantastic. So again, it's finding those ideas that I wouldn't have thought of that before until I'd come into the group, and when I did, it opened up this whole new vessel, which really helped my practice, and those students after that really improved as well, which was fantastic.
Definitely. And sometimes the way that you learn music in school, like in music lessons, you're not like in the curriculum you're not talking about like your emotions very much. So just to have that space for young people where they can, and where they even have that kind of safe space and like non-judgment zone, and making that clear from the beginning as well, I think is really good.
I think for me what's really helped is challenging my own perceptions of what it means to be a music teacher. And I think because I kind of came from quite a classical background, and that was kind of, you know, this is what you do, and once you've done this grade then you get ready for the next one and everything else. And I think just I've always valued all types of music, but I think across the service I think it really helps people see the benefits of not just Western classical music, and I think that's what I think has been really lovely about it.
I think that's really important as well, because we're growing up into a place where we've got loads of people that are producers or rappers or things like that, where all of this stuff literally comes from the ground up. It's not that this is the way that you need to do it, this is the way that you need to do that. People formulate words, people formulate imagery through words, people make beats and stuff by just literally taking the old and making the new. And I think that it's really important that we teach the creativeness behind everything like that, rather than being like X, Y and Z, like we've talked about, for sure.
And when you do that, it then will exclude a lot less people, because there's so many young people who like are making music at home and then they go to school but they can't transfer those skills because they're not able to, and the setting doesn't allow them to. So if we like challenge our own prejudices and preconceptions of what music education is, and that happens like across the board of music teachers, that will really have amazing benefits.
I definitely think so, 100%.
I think a really good place to start, and a lot of music teachers probably do this already and don't even realise that it's reflective practice, is just like when you grab a coffee in the staff room, having a talk about how your lessons have been with, you know, the colleague, discussing things that you might be finding difficult, and, you know, asking for advice. And I think we definitely probably all already do that, even if we don't have a formal meeting that we go to once a term or whatever. So that can be a really lovely place to start. Plus it gives you an idea as well. It helps you gauge what other tutor or which other tutors might be really interested in forming part of a reflective practice group. So that can be a nice place to start.
Yeah, and also one way I started just on my own is like recording into my phone after the lesson, because with when I was doing music nurture groups, I was going like from school to school, so you don't really have time to kind of start writing down, but I would just record on my phone while I'm walking out of the school, and just asking questions like what went well, what didn't, what stood out from that lesson, what you could do differently, and just really asking yourself those questions. And it's good to do straight after the lesson, I find, or at least on that day.
Yeah, I think like for me, when I did it a couple of years ago, one thing, I've got quite a good memory, so I remember a lot of things that I've kind of done during the day, and I'm really good with like getting at night, being able to write stuff that we've done, or even like the next night. But what I would normally do is write kind of what we did during the session, and like good points and bad points, and this would be a great thing to be able to bring in to a session to be able to talk about, and I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, and I think practically to have kind of set up some sessions, maybe like 3 over like a term at first, and to just kind of let people ease into it as well, because if you've never had a critical reflection meeting before and you don't know any of the tutors, you're going to feel quite differently to being as open as if you knew a lot of people much better. So I think just like not putting too much pressure on the environment, and if someone talks for less time, that's okay, and asking encouraging questions, but also just like leaving time for that to develop, because it will develop over time. It's not going to be like the first meeting everyone's bearing their heart and soul.
Yes.
And we're from a culture where people are so afraid to get things wrong, aren't they? Like we're always so worried about not being completely perfect straight away, which is funny because that's exactly what a lot of our students are like, and we're still the same like as adults. So I think like trying to break that down, and like you're saying, in those kind of sessions, I think is really important and really useful.
Yeah.
I think a good place to start also can be our CPD sessions at the beginning of the year. So even though it's been quite a lot of time to look back and reflect on, it can also be a good opportunity to have lots of tutors together to really discuss and explain what reflective practice is, so that tutors see the benefits and they want to engage in it a little bit more.
Yeah, because even if you don't have the funding or resources to do a critical reflection meeting separate from what the other things you do, you could embed it into what already exists. So like the CPD sessions, and then doing exactly that. Try not to see it as like all or nothing, because then it might just not happen. Or you could even include it in a training session, or anything.
I think like a CPD as well, like if it was like the start of the year, like you were saying, I think would be really good, because I think that brings a complete fresh new breath. Like whenever we kind of go back into the school cycle, it's like restarting over again. It's like that freshly new leaf that's turned over, and I think that having that right at the start might be able to kind of concrete something that goes on, but even starting it at the beginning kind of like a term, for example, as well, because even that feels like a little bit of a fresh breath too. So I think it's really, really important, because you're building it right from the start of something, and normally with a lot of kind of school stuff, you have performances at certain times, grades happen at certain times, and I think that it'd be really good to get that implemented, so then you can have it as it kind of goes on, which I think would be really, really beneficial, definitely.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you found some of this content useful, and that we've given you the tools to implement reflective practice in your own music service.